All right, Edwin, we've been talking about doing this for a little while here, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I can't wait.
Yeah, and Edwin's here today as an Allstate agent representing DC Olson and Associates.
That is correct.
So we are going to learn all things insurance, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. We'll probably hear a few horror stories and hopefully some success stories as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's some good things out there that happen. Why you need an agent to help you through some of these tough things, because it's a tricky situation sometimes. So
I'd love to just get, like, as we kind of start before we go into the nitty gritty of insurance, I'd love to just hear a little bit of the background of the agency that you're at now. I've heard it's a family run place, and
Yes.
you've known them for a very long time, and tell us all about it.
Yeah. Well, it's DC and Olson. It's Dave and Conley Olson. David was worked at American Airlines for years. He went to retire, and he just wanted to do something, keep himself going, and have something for his family. So him and Conley got together. She was a dealer at the casino, and they cashed in their 401ks and opened up Allstate for a family-run business. It started with her sister, her dad, her brother, her mom. They all were involved in it. And over the years, the sister had moved down to Texas, and then the dad, he was in full retirement mode. He was there, but he wasn't really a go-getter when it came to that. So they brought in the son, and he's still works for us. He does the specialty autos and stuff like that, classic cars. He's retired from the military himself, so he gets the leisure of working when he feels like it, but he's always there whenever we need him. Conley's mom, she does all our call-outs for renewals, HR stuff, which we try to do whenever you're with us. We try to let you know, hey, next month you're coming up for your renewal, let you know if there's going to be an increase or a decrease, and go over some of that stuff and see what we can do to either try to save you some money or, make sure that you're fully covered for what you need. So, yeah, with all that, David Olson he passed away about a year and a half ago. So I came in, filled in those shoes. I was here a little bit before that because he had some health issues. And we just carrying on that legacy for his family. And our biggest focus really is customer service. I think that's something that we can rely upon. If you look around, our agency with Allstate, of course, is we're one of the only few elite agencies, Allstate agencies around, and we pride ourselves on that customer service, being there for the customers, whether it's they come and get a quote and we just can't beat them, so we point them in the right direction of where they can go to get what they need. That's our biggest thing, making sure that they're covered and taken care of. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that's stood out to me, as meeting you and hearing about the agency, is just that if you don't see that you're the best fit for them, you're not going to pressure sell them. You really want what's best for them.
Oh, yeah. I recently just had someone call the other day, and they were getting a quote, and it was a little bit out of their budget. And so I suggested, hey, try State Farm. They got some stuff. I work with an agency in Tulsa. Sent them over there, and guess what? Saved them tons of money, even my own customers. If they get a big increase on their insurance and it's financially tight with them, hey, let's shop around. Let's see where we can go to try to get you the best deal possible. And I'll go over the policies and the quotes that they get from the other places just to let them know. You might want to tweak it here. You might want to do this here. This isn't something you really need, but it's nice to have just for, let's make it comfortable for you and price efficient for you. A lot of people don't realize that just for a few dollars more, you can get more coverage that's cost efficient, and that's how I look at it. If it only costs you $8 more a year to have accident forgiveness, let's do that $8 a year. One of the bigger things right now is medical payments. For $1 more a year, you can get double the medical insurance payment. But people don't realize Well, I have $5,000. Do I really need $10,000? Have you seen the price of medical bills lately? It's always better to have more than enough. And for $1, you really can't say no to that. So
can't get anything for $1 nowadays. So.
Not even a McDonald's cheeseburger. So trust me on that. So, but yeah, we want people to know that when they're talking to us, they're going to get the honest truth. And if I'll let them know, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you, or hey, let's get you going because what you have right now is horrible. So
as someone moving from Minnesota, where we have entirely different weather, what are some of the biggest things that you need to think about coverage-wise, whether that's for home or auto in a different climate like this, or for the locals here, like storms and such?
Well, the biggest thing is wind and hail damage, especially on your home. Wind and hail damage is the biggest thing for Oklahoma's roofs and houses. The standard industry is about 1%, which is something that we always recommend. If you qualify for a 0.5%, that's awesome. And the percent is based off of what we're insuring your home for, not the value of the home, but what you actually insure it for. So let's say your house, we're giving you $300,000 worth of coverage. That's $3,000 deductible. Some people are like, oh, well, I have a 2%. So that means before anyone does anything, you're going to have to pay $6,000. And then most homes, especially over the age of 10 years with the roof, there's a depreciation value that starts to be added in. Now, Allstate used to have that for the longest time. The first 10 years of the roof, 100% replaced, no depreciation value. Now, we have no depreciation value on the roof. So you just have that one deductible. So even though it's a 1% with no depreciation value, you're paying $3,000 no matter how old your roof is, as long as it's a claimable offense, not just wear and tear on a roof or anything like that. Now, when it comes to auto, I would say one of the top things that you need to look at is your comprehensive coverage, especially with the weather and the slick streets and stuff like that. But the hail damage to a car, comprehensive, most people have either a 500 to 1,000. I try to figure out the lowest possible comprehensive coverage possible that's cost efficient for you. The most common thing with the comprehensive claim is cracked windshield from a rock on the road. Most windshields are under $500. So if a rock hits your windshield and your deductible is $500 and the window's only $300 to replace, you're not going to file a claim. In some cases, a lot of people, you can lower that from a $500 deductible to a $0 deductible for only $4 a month more, which is, in my opinion, cost efficient wise, because you get a crack in your windshield, you go get it replaced. It doesn't cost you a penny. Now you have a brand new windshield and you're on your way. We also do work with certain window glass company, Safe Light. So if you are an Allstate customer, you go in there and let them know you're an Allstate customer. If the window can be repaired, like a chip, before they have to replace it, they normally do that for free. So that's always a great thing to have. But the lower the deductible, the better the odds. And that's what I try to go with, is the lowest deductible possible. Because when something bad happens, not everybody has $3,000 to $5,000 to get it fixed. So let's make sure you have that coverage.
Yeah, you find yourself in a tight spot when you have to pay out some. You're like, well, I'm insured, I'm covered, and then it's like, well, you're insured once you pay out, a significant amount of money.
Your section of that, all perils deductible, I try to have as low as possible. Most of my customers have $1,000 deductible on that. At least that's what I shoot for. I personally don't like to give them anything over $2,500. I like the low deductible because the most common thing in an all peril is a busted water pipe in the middle of winter. Everybody's heard, everybody's seen, or most people have had it happen to them. And that's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to just start off. It's a lot easier to come up with $1,000 than it is $2,500, $4,000, or $3,000. So,
did you have much of that through this last cold front that we had?
We had a couple people that had busted water pipes. we work with a lot of different companies that we try to recommend. We don't just pick one because all people are different. So we picked about 3 different places that we try to recommend. Some plumbing companies, some restoration companies, stuff like that, to get our customers back up and going. And we normally try to recommend people that we know give good customer service for the most part, and get out there. And if my customer has a busted water pipe, I want a plumber that's going to be out there as soon as possible. Not, oh, we'll come out there, shut off the water, and we'll be back tomorrow. We want our customers to be good. So, yeah.
And that's probably, I mean, that's a huge thing to have a local network. Not only can you provide the right coverages, but if they're in the situation, you can point them in the directions that they need to go.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, some of the restoration companies we work with, ODR, Paul Davis, yeah, those are our 2 main ones that we work with the restoration companies. Service Pro, and then with plumbings, I mean, we have all different types of plumbers that we work with. Roto-Rooter is one of the ones that I recommend the most around. And then roofing companies. That's probably our biggest thing is roofing companies. And we work with Top That Roofing, Apex Roofing, Good Neighbor Roofing. Just those are the 3 that we recommend a lot nowadays. But yeah, I mean, it's good when a customer calls and says, man, I have this issue, and I can say, oh, well, look, I'll send this over to you so you can pick one of these people, see which one come out and take care of you. So, yeah, it's good to have that.
What's one of the biggest mistakes you see people making when they're selecting an insurance provider, or they're selecting coverage? Is it just that they select it on their own without advice, or?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes anyone can make whenever they're doing, especially home insurance, is the cost. That is, cheapest isn't always the best. I always point out, women with their shoes, and purses. They like their purses, they like their shoes, and they go out and do that, and then they spend all this money on their shoes and put them in the closet, and there they are. Guys with their golf clubs or their tennis rackets, and they get this nice stuff and they put it in there, and then they say, what's the cheapest thing I can do to protect this product? And it's like, yeah, it's cheaper because you don't have enough to cover that. If when you got 20 pairs of shoes and each pair of shoes $200, but your limit's only this, because you chose the cheapest way. I'm not saying that cheap isn't good, because everybody wants it cheaper, but it has to be what's cost efficient. You can't have $200,000 worth of stuff in your house and only have it insured for $150 because it saved you $100 a year on your insurance. It's going to cost you more in the long run to have that cheaper insurance.
So what I'm hearing is buy one less pair of shoes and one less driver.
There you go.
Upgrade your insurance.
You go. Upgrade your insurance. And if you have expensive stuff, make sure that your insurance company knows so you can get the proper coverage for it. Even me, myself, I made that mistake. I should have increased my electronics in my home because of my computer. I had a very nice computer. And me, even as an insurance agent, I kept telling myself, oh, I need to add that on there, put that extra coverage on there. And then my house got robbed and they stole my computer. And now I didn't have enough to cover to replace the computer that I had in the house. Trust me, as an insurance agent, I was like, I don't even listen to myself. Why am I doing this? So, and then come to find out it's $7 more to have $2,000 worth more coverage that it would have been able to replace my computer with no problem. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's...
Sometimes you got to learn the hard way.
Sometimes you got to learn the hard way. Sometimes, when I was young and I got my first apartment, I had no idea about renter's insurance. And to make sure that my stuff was protected until I came home, my house was robbed the first time, and I was like, man. And then everybody was like, well, did you have renter's insurance? And I'm like, well, what's renter's insurance? I had no idea about it. Now, I recommend it. And property adds up very fast, and people do not realize that. And I would always rather have you pay $5 to $10 more a year for more coverage than what you actually need, because things that cost $1,000 a day in 2 years are going to be $1,200. So, and you have replacement costs. So that's what you need. You need to have more than what you think you have, because in the future, I don't insure you just for today. I insure you for 5 years from now, because I want you to be my customer for the next 5 years. So when that stuff does happen, you have plenty of money to bring your life back to where it was before anything bad happened. So
if I like insured $1,000 computer in 5 years, if that same computer costs $1,500, that's
replacement costs. So basically, what they would do at that point in time is they come in and say, okay, this computer was worth $1,000, so they're going to give you the $1,000. Then you go out and you replace your computer. You bring the receipt, and they say that computer is now $1,500. The insurance company looks at that and they give you the difference. So it's replacement cost for what you have. So now you can't go and get a 55-inch TV and then replace it with an 85-inch TV. You replace it with the same thing comparable to it. So and that's what a lot of people fail to realize is they're like, oh, well, I don't have that. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you have kids, you need more coverage on your personal property, because kid stuff is getting more and more expensive. It's more electronical. It's more, it's not the same thing that it was when I was a kid. It's, my nephew has a cell phone that's $900, you know what I mean? And he's 6. So, it's things like that you have to look at. And especially during the time of loss, like you lose your home or you've lost everything, you don't need to be trying to nickel and dime it, trying to get yourself back to where you were. You pay a little bit more to make sure that you can be made whole again. And that's the point of an insurance company. It's not to make you better. It's to make you whole again. Sometimes it works out where it makes you better, but at the end of the day, we just want you to be able to be back in your home or back in your car, getting to work and moving on with your life as fast as possible, and not being like, I don't have enough to do this. That's what a good agent does. He'd make sure that you're taken care of with your needs. Not everybody's the same, because I get that all the time. Hey, I have a 2024 Honda. How much is the insurance on that? It varies per person, where you live, where you're at, and all that other different stuff. Let's not worry about what your friend pays. Let's worry about what you're paying. Let's focus on what you need. You know, your friend who's ex-military on VA benefits, he may not need as much medical insurance coverage as you do, because he has that taken care of. Uninsured motorists. You have kids. Highly recommend that you have uninsured motorists when you have kids. It saves you in the long run. So
what is that, and what does that cover?
It covers any medical bills. Now, it doesn't cover the car. It just covers medical bills. So if someone hits you or you get into an accident and they don't have enough insurance to cover your medical bills, you actually have extra insurance to cover that. And a quick little story about that. We have a customer of ours, and it's actually a family member of Conley's, and they had their car insurance with us, and they did have the uninsured motorist. Their son was out driving with his friend in his friend's car. So nothing to do with their vehicles. They get into an accident. The son ends up being paralyzed from the accident. The person that he was riding with, they had insurance, but they didn't have enough to cover the medical bills. The person that hit them had insurance, but didn't have enough to cover the medical bills. The parents, our customers, they had the uninsured motorist. That kicked in to cover their son. So now they had enough money to cover the medical bills. So it doesn't just cover you and your vehicle. I mean, if you're riding in your friend's car, and let's say they don't have insurance, you didn't know that, you get into an accident, you have the uninsured motorist, your insurance will help cover your medical bills for that accident. So it is a benefit to have, especially with children when they're riding around with everyone else, because you can protect your family with your insurance as best as you can. But when they're out with their friend John, you don't know what their family's dynamics is. And like I said, insurance is different for every single person. So, yeah. A lot of people think uninsured motorist covers their car. It does not. Comp and collision, that's what covers your car. If someone hits you and they don't have enough insurance, or they don't have insurance and you have comp and collision, a lot of people call it full coverage, but there is no such thing as full coverage. So we try to say comp and collision. Your car is going to be taken care of. We're more worried about, that's more to cover you for your family medical needs, because something bad happens, you want to make sure you have more than enough to take care of that.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like worst case scenario.
Yeah, and that is a worst case scenario.
Covering, but like if you're, I mean, medical situation, if there's not enough insurance to cover, like you said, as sickening as it is, and as I'll say predatory as it is, medical bills run up fast,
quick,
and it's holes that some people never get out of.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Oh yeah, and like I said, I mean, most people, they're like, oh, I have health insurance, and you're right, they absolutely do, but I don't know if anyone's had to deal with health insurance companies. They're not always the easiest to get along with. And we've actually known in the past where some health insurance companies have said, oh, that's an insurance claim. We don't cover that. Your insurance needs to take care of that. And then here you are going, what? That's what I pay you guys for. And they're like, oh, no, it was due to an accident, so therefore you need to sue those people. We're going to deny this claim. And we've been shocked by that. You know, we learn new stuff every day with insurance. We're not always fully aware of what is covered and everything else, but we do have a support staff that we can always call and talk to. But yeah, it's amazing sometimes what's covered and you don't even realize it.
Yeah. Well, and I would love to bounce back to the renter's insurance thing too. I think what popped in my head is like, let's say someone buys a house and they're either going to have roommates come in, whether those are just friends, or maybe it's the family owns a house, so they're going to rent it to some college students or something like that. What are some scenarios people can find themselves in if they don't make sure that people are covered via renter's insurance? Well,
renter's insurance covers if you're renting a property. So let's say you're renting a house from me. A lot of landlords nowadays in apartments require that you have renter's insurance. So in case you do any damage to the building, they can have it covered. Now, let's say you decide that you're going to have people move in to your place and you're just going to sublease a room to them. Most of the time you don't see anyone with that type of renter's insurance on there, but it's also good to have. Because let's say you have 3 people living in a house, you have renter's insurance, I don't have renter's insurance, the other guy doesn't have renter's insurance, and something happens, your renter's insurance doesn't cover the other people in the house. It only covers you and your property. Now, if you own the home or your family owns the home and they want to rent the property to you, we highly recommend that they get a landlord policy, because it doesn't cover so much as the personal property in the house. There is a little bit of coverage, but it covers any damages or anything else, and also protects the landlord from, if one of your friends come over and get hurt, they have the insurance to cover that. Renter's insurance also does cover that. So let's say you're at your house and your friend comes over and you guys are having a good time and he trips and falls and breaks his arm. You have medical insurance for that through renters, which is good requirement. And something else I will point out, especially to people that live in apartments, is a lot of apartment complexes offer you renter's insurance just at a cheap rate of like $10 a month added on to your rent. Check and see what that actually covers, because 90% of the time it only covers the building. It doesn't cover your personal property. It doesn't cover anything that goes on in there. It just covers if something happens, you have insurance to repair their building. So your renter's insurance is going into effect. One of the downstairs neighbors catches their apartment on fire. It doesn't even come to your apartment, but you got smoke damage that comes into yours. The renter's insurance that you have through the apartments won't cover your furniture, your clothes and all that type of stuff. Most of the time. I'm not saying always, but make sure you check it, because most people just say, oh, well, I have renter's insurance through my apartments, so if something happens, I'm covered. No, the apartment's covered, not you. Yeah, it might cost you $10 more, but if your property gets destroyed, you have a place to go. If something happens, like not a few weeks ago, we had an apartment complex fire. 15 people had to be relocated. Your renter's insurance will actually pay for you to go somewhere else and stay till you can get into another apartment. The loss of use of that place, which we highly recommend. It's always good to have. We're just a safety blanket in case. In case. Just think of the worst possible case scenario, and that's what we're there for. We're there to help you get through those times.
Yeah, so. And what I'm hearing through all that is like it's not ever as simple as I'm covered or not covered. It's to what degree and what scenarios are you covered.
Yeah.
So like that stuff for me, that's just, I think I've said to you, I'm like, it's exhausting to even think about, and that's why it's refreshing when someone has knowledge of it, because if I could do all the research I want, but it's going to take me forever. I don't live it, I don't live it, and there are changes constantly.
And that's the biggest thing is knowing what the changes are and knowing what the odds are and the increases are. I get people all the time that go online and they do their quote online, and then they're like, oh, well, I know exactly what I need. I actually had a customer that after he signed up, he called us one day and he wanted to transfer into our agency because he was having some issues. And we were like, sure. So we transferred into the agency, and then he's like, can you review my policy? And we're like, most definitely. I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, like you have a 5% wind and hail deductible. You're going to have to pay $13,000 out of pocket for a roof that's probably going to cost you $17,000, and he's like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. And it's not saying that people can't figure out their own insurance needs or anything else, but that's what an agent's there for, is to help guide you. Like you said, you don't think of any and everything possible that could happen. We've seen a lot that's happened. We know a lot that's happened, and we're there to help. I'll give you a prime example. A couple years back when we had that big tornado out there in Owasso, we had a husband and wife that gave us a call. They had a lot of wind and hail damage. And I was like, okay. Gave them the number to call. They filed a claim within 24 hours. I can look at it and go over stuff. So I was calling. They're like, what do we do? We sent out some roofers for them. We sent out a restoration company for them. Shout out to Apex Roofing. Shout out to ODR. Those are the ones that went out there and took care of him. Customer was very happy. They had not a high deductible, but the roof was really old already, so they had a lot of depreciation value. So at the end of the day, they were going to have to pay out almost $11,000. It was a $17,000 repair job, replacement cost. And she called and she was like, I just don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. And I was like, okay, well, let's look and figure this out. And then I was like, okay, so y'all have that shed out back, right? Yeah, but it got blown away. I was like, oh, well, have you filed a claim on that? They're like, well, no, it was an old shed. We barely used it. I'm like, well, that's what you have the insurance for, other structures. You file for that shed out back. So she's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah. So she did. They gave her $9,000 for that shed that was out back. So are they going to replace that shed out back? No, but you know what they got? They got a brand new roof, and it didn't cost them hardly anything now. They went from having $10,000 to that. She never would have filed a claim because it was just an old shed out back. But now she has a brand new roof. The inside of her house is taken care of, and that's because of that little shed that she didn't even think nothing of. But your agent did. The adjusters aren't going to come out there and be, hey, you could file for this over here. No, that's what your agent's for. I work for my customers. We work for Allstate, but I work for my customers, and I go to bat for my customers and make sure that they're taken care of. Not, oh, well, Allstate says this is it. That's it. No, I've had my plenty of arguments with claims adjusters. Don't get it wrong. So, yeah.
I've seen my fair share of adjusters' videos of arguments on roofs. And
oh, yeah. But also, customers have to be honest to us because as your agent, I need you to be honest with me. When you tell me that the roof adjuster came out and never got on the roof, and I'm like, really? And I call on behalf of you to the adjusters or to your claim agent, and they send me over the photos of the adjuster on the roof while you're looking at him, you kind of make me look bad at that point in time, man. I'm like, oh, well, I guess he was on the roof. Okay, never mind. So, yeah, just be there, and if you have a good agent, your agent's going to be there for you.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to strive for is we try to return every single phone call by the end of the day if I miss one, which I rarely do. I know most of my customers just by their name. I pretty much know where they're at and what they need and what I can do for them. So, yeah. That's
huge. That's something that I think you can't get with just like signing up for your own insurance online. And then I've in the past when I've done just like a renter's policy for an old apartment or whatever, then you'll get assigned some office, and you've never met them and they're never going to meet you. And usually I don't even end up talking to them. Oh, yeah. But I think that's a thing where it's like, you're local. You guys are in Broken Arrow. You guys are super involved in the Broken Arrow community.
We try.
But I mean, that's huge, and that's what's cool about your agency.
And that's the other thing. I mean, if you look us up on the internet and you look at our agencies, we have a very good score rating. Like I said, our prime focus is customer service. As a person before I had this, whenever I tried to get hold of my agent before I worked for Allstate and before Conley opened up her agency, trying to get hold of my agent was the most difficult thing. And then you get the runaround. I'm not naming bad things, but you have the online insurance companies. And when you call, you're talking to Mike on Monday, and then you're having an issue. So then you call back on Wednesday and you're talking to Susan. And then you call back on Thursday, you're talking to Philip. Every time you're talking to someone new and happen to repeat where you're at,
and they're relearning your policy.
Yeah, hope that the person that you talked to the last time made good notes so the person that you're talking to today can see where you're at, and then it just gets frustrating. While if you call my agency, you're going to get me or Conley. Those are the two people you're going to. If you call on Monday, it's going to be me. If you call on Tuesday, it's probably going to be me. It's probably going to be me every time you call. But Conley answers every now and again and just throws customers off. They're like, who is this? But, yeah, you're going to get me or you're going to get Conley. And even though we may not have the greatest notes in there because I'm horrible at making notes, we're 2 desks apart. Like I can just turn around and be, oh, well, they're talking about this, and we go on from there. That's the great thing about that. We're not a big agency. We don't have seven different agents. We don't have so many issues going on. And I'd rather be able to take care of the customers I have than have too many customers. So I'm not saying I don't want all the business in the world, but we know our reach and bounds, and we like the fact that we're a smaller agency and that we can handle our customers and take care of them and give them the service that they're entrusting in us to give them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's kind of that white glove service that's like, you're known. And I mean, I even went through that. Like I ended up getting paid well from an auto accident, but USAA, all of my communications where it's like, she gave me her number and her extension. I still can't get a hold of her. And I did get assigned someone. Eventually, it ended up working out. I'm not, like we said, we're not talking bad on any specific agency today. But it was just like, going through the online channels is just like, man.
Yeah. Well, that's literally what I was saying about whenever you told me you got in an accident. I was like, oh, who's your insurance company? You said USA. I was like, oh, you're good. You're going to get taken care of. They're actually a very good company. But like you said, getting through to somebody on a regular basis, the same person, is very hard because that person is dealing with probably 35 different things all at the same time.
A lot of volume.
Yeah. I deal with, I do believe we have 291 customers in our book. Most of them, I'll be honest with you, we barely hear from. We hear from them. Like I said, we give out a call every 6 months on the auto, every year on the home. To let them know, hey, this is what's going on. But most of them we don't really hear from. But the ones that we do, when a customer has an issue and they get into a car accident, trust us, we both know who got into a car accident this week or who's had a claim filed against them. And we're going to call and check. And guess what? We're going to call back next week once everything's gone through to make sure everything's gone through. You know, do they have any more questions? When something bad happens, we try to be there for them. And I think that's more important than getting online and saving $25.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a guy yesterday that, I got a quote online and it's about $150 cheaper than the quote you gave me, and it's through Allstate. Well, you can go on Allstate and you can run a quote with no agent, and it's going to be cheaper because there's no agent. But then at the same time, he's like, but can I call you whenever I need something? Can I call you? And it's like, yeah, you can call me. And there's certain things I can do and certain things I can't do, but yeah. And he was like, well, I'm just saying it's cheaper if I do it online without going through you. Yeah. But keep that in mind, though. When something bad happens, you're your own agent. Are you going to know what to do? I'm here to sell insurance and make sure you're taken care of. And I'll be here for you, but this is what I do. Like, you're paying for, you're paying for the service. You're not paying, you're trying to figure it out. Like, you can't go to valet, park your car in the valet parking spot and then go inside and come back out. No, that's just, I'm here to help you, and I will be. Like, if he calls me tomorrow and says, hey, can you help me look at this? I'll do it, because that's what we're here to do. But when you're on the online stuff and you're doing it yourself and you overlook something, and then you find out when something bad happens that you had a 5% win in hell deductible, I mean, you can't get mad at Allstate for that,
Because you didn't have an agent who was just like assigned to your policy.
Yeah. Or at least even go over it with an agent. Call me and ask me that question, just like what this guy did. I dealt with him for 3 days. He was going back and forth trying to figure out. He was getting quotes from everywhere else. I was looking at the quotes for everywhere else. I had a lady the other day that called, and she's with another company, and she just wanted to get a quote. Well, we were more expensive than what her quote was. But I went over her current policy with her, and I told her, hey, do you know that this means this? She didn't realize that. And after everything was said and done, she realized that if something bad happened, they weren't going to be able to take care of that. And this is a family of husband and wife and 5 kids. And with 5 kids, you don't have an extra $3,000 or $4,000 laying around. And they thought that they were perfectly fine and covered. They went back to their agent, talked to their agent, and their agent made the adjustments. And so now she's covered with better coverage. And she's paying a little bit more, but she's covered. It's like I said at the very beginning, the biggest mistake people make is, I want the cheapest. And when you get the cheapest, sometimes it's the cheapest.
Let's be real. Most of us have somewhere we can cut $15 to put an extra 15, 20, 20,
Now some changes are big. Don't get it wrong. Like,
yes,
don't get it wrong.
Sure.
But those little ones are the ones that when the time comes.
Because home insurance is going to be your biggest adjustment, probably, right?
Yeah. Auto insurance, it's a fun little thing to do there, and it's you get a little bit of increase. We do every 6 months. Some companies do a year, but we do every 6 months, and we like that because that way we can take a look and see where you're at and if there's things that we need to make changes on. One thing I will tell you, if your kid's turning 16 and getting their driver's license, just buckle up, all right? Especially when you have 2024 cars, 2025 cars, and now you have a 16-year-old that's never driven on the road before, and you have to add them to your insurance. Yeah.
Put them in an old Toyota Camry or something like that.
See, here you can't assign car per person. So when the kid gets added on, he gets added on to all the vehicles in the house. So yeah, you can buy him that 2005 Honda Prelude, but he's insured to drive that 2025 Tesla, and so, and we do try to work with our customers especially when they have a new driver coming on their policy with defensive driver's courses that you can take online that saves you a little bit of money. But Yeah, be prepared. Be prepared for that increase. Like I tell my customers, it's cheaper to sell that kid than to add them onto your insurance. So it's a win-win, you know. So
Yeah, no, 16. And is it more expensive for male drivers versus female drivers, or is it pretty comparable?
it's pretty comparable.
Was that ever a real thing, or is that just kind of?
I can tell you, since I've been doing it and Conley's been doing it, we've never really noticed the difference.
I feel like I've always heard people say that.
Yeah, they say women mature more than men, so men's is higher than women's, and so on and so forth. But in reality, insurance for anyone under the age of 18 is going to be higher, boy or girl, and then you'll see another increase on those people. That the age of 21, as soon as they become 21, their insurance goes up a little bit more, and that's just because now they're at the drinking age, so more likely to drink and drive or more accidents. And then everyone's like, oh, well, as soon as you're 25, it just drops. Well, not necessarily. There is a little bit of a difference when you hit about 24 and it starts going down, then 25. But there is no like, oh, well, I was paying $100 a month. Now I'm only going to pay $60 a month. No, you won't see a decrease like that unless you got a crappier car. But a lot of things taken, like I said, a lot of things taken consideration on what your rates on your auto are. I mean, if you're in a high crime risk area, you know, the insurance is going to be a little bit higher because there's a lot more crime. If you're over here and, you know, where you live does take effect to your insurance rates and your driving history and if there's ever been an accident, speeding tickets. Please don't get a DUI. That's going to affect your rates. And if you do get into an accident, I would look on your policy to see if your insurance company has accident forgiveness. It's a great thing to have on there because sooner or later everyone has an accident, and we don't want your rates to go up due to that. So if you have the opportunity to get accident forgiveness, please put that on there. So it's a great thing to have.
Just all those additional things that you know about and we don't.
Yeah, it says nickel and dime things that people are like, oh, well, do I really need that? Nah, I don't think I need that. And I can say, oh, no, this is why you need that.
Well,
you know?
I ran into one where it was the like renter's coverage for a car if you're in an accident or whatever, and like you're out of a car for a few days, what are you gonna do? Well, I was like, we have two cars, they both are decent enough, and then just so happened the one time my car starts having issues, it's in the shop. Well, I did a little oopsie with my wife's car, got in a little accident. So now both cars, so now we're getting rides places.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, like, and it only was like a day for us, but I'm just like, those situations can happen quick.
You'd be very surprised. Some people, like, one of the questions I ask my customers, especially when it's like a husband and wife, and they have the two cars. Dad has the Silverado, and the mom has the Ford Escape. And one of the questions I ask is, what does your husband do? Or, what do you do for a living? And then, we do this, we do that, because we've had couples where this has happened, and the dad is driving a pickup truck because he does construction, and he's out hauling stuff all day. Mom drives a little family car because she hauls the kids around. Dad's car got into an accident. He can't use the family car to go pick up and do all the stuff that he needs to go do. So when someone like that's in that situation, and it's like, oh, what do you do for a living? And you can tell the difference between a guy that works at an office compared to a guy that's working out in the middle of building a house. He needs that truck. He can't use the family car to do that. So we would recommend, if I were you and that happens, in case something does happen, you have a car that you can rent. That way your wife can get a rental car to cover for her and the kids, or you can get a rental truck to cover for you and your job. But when you have two opposing things, demographics, and you're like, oh, well, we have two cars. Well, you do, but you don't.
Right.
So
two different functions.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both vehicles.
Yeah, they're both vehicles, and you can get to work But when you get to work and you need to haul that lumber, you're going to have to let the kids seat out. You're going to have to do that, put it in there while mom's stuck at home with no car and can't go do anything.
Then you're going to have to get that thing detailed after all.
And then, mom has 4 doctor's appointments. So who's going to get the car today? You know, and most of the time you can get a car in and out of the shop within a week. But as you found out, when one bad thing happens, it's a domino effect.
Yeah,
you know, so it's better to be able to go, all right, was in an accident, car's in the shop, I need a rental car. Let me go get a rental car because the family needs to be taken care of, and so do you, you know, and so. But
if you had to go and rent a car out of pocket, I mean, it's expensive.
It is, and we use Enterprise Rental Car. Allstate does. They're our preferred rental car company. If you go to them and let them know, even if you're just trying to rent a car for the weekend, let them know you're an Allstate customer. They give you a nice little discount on a rental car as well. But yeah, it is a fun thing to deal with sometimes. But people look at that and when they're doing their own insurance, they're like, oh, I don't really need one. And then the bad thing happens and you're like, oh, I really did need one. And then to try to add it on afterwards is a little too late. You know, can't call me and be like, hey, can we add that on there? Yeah, we can, but it's not going to benefit this. So,
you can't add it when it's too late.
Yeah, you can, but it ain't going to benefit you.
Right.
So, but then the next time, and that's the other thing. It's a learning curve. I'll tell you a funny one was, Dad bought his son a brand new car, and son had the car, and he went to the gas station, and he filled it up with diesel. Yep. Ruined the engine. He took it into the shop, and the mechanic said, oh, well, just, call your insurance company, and you can file a claim. And they're like, they're not going to cover our car because we put diesel in it. Well, you know what? We didn't think that either. Guess what? Allstate covered it. Gave him a brand new engine for his car. So that's the thing is you never know what's going to happen, and you don't always know what your insurance covers. When you're your own agent, you have no way to find that out. He would have had no way to find that out. He couldn't have called us and been like, hey, and then me go in, double check, and say, oh, yeah, that is covered. And it's only covered by your comprehensive. So, hey, you have a 0 deductible. So you get a brand new engine for free because your son didn't know what the green handle meant compared to the red handle. So, but
seems like a good first lesson.
Yeah.
Maybe in your driver's ed, but
yeah, and that's why we always do. Like I say, we recommend an agent, just to go over the little bitty things that you didn't realize that you didn't plan for because we've seen it.
Yeah.
So,
well, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we know?
Just besides. Give me a call. We'll go over your home insurance that you have right now, see if it's good for you, see if we can do better, and see if we can try to save you some money this year on your insurance. Everything else is going up, so let's just try to keep you down. And just give me a call, 918-505-1409.
All right. Yeah. Well, you closed it out perfect, so thanks for coming on today, Edwin.
Well, thanks for having me. We appreciate it. All right?
Yes, sir.